All right, everybody, welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting this Thursday, September 17th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. Markets are actually beginning to drop off right as we head into this meeting. Great to see all of us, though. Dale, Mike, Greg, Leda, Chuck, Daniel, Jose, all of us joining us right here inside our trading room. And as always, welcome on back for all of us streaming on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube. So, hey guys, let's hop into it as always. We have Dave and Buster's play up on the screen right now. I'm going to copy and paste just to begin. We have a news report out from the Wall Street Journal. Dave and Buster's warns of bankruptcy if no lender deal is struck. So that news headline, that report from Wall Street Journal came out this morning, right at 7:30 Eastern Time. Debbie says no picture. Give me a quick sec here. For all of us inside the trading room, I'm going to flash my screen here. Anybody tuning in on social media, you guys should be good. Just give me a quick second or two. Just resharing here. Probably a screen flash for everybody right now, but Debbie, just let me know if it's good in the coming seconds here. Should be good. Good now? Perfect. All right, cool. So Dave and Buster's, the news report that came out, 7:30 in the morning Eastern. Well, we ended up seeing a big gap down to begin with the market. Market took a big hit, of course, going into yesterday's after hours and going into the market open today. But with that report out as well, it's not looking too good to begin with. We ended up seeing Dave and Buster's make that pop up at the market open, but whereas the markets continued to recover, this certainly did not. Ended up, holding off the lows pretty nicely and then eventually just snapping to break much lower. So, notably what I want to jump to, at least with this trade, because, easily enough, we're just going to put this on our list heading into the afternoon. Whoops, that's not what I'm looking to do. I'll write this down here first, guys. PLAY play. Just going to put this on our list to begin. But a couple of levels I want to focus in on, because we talk about this a lot inside our trading room, whether it be inside our Traders Talk workshop or more in depth inside our curriculum. We ended up seeing some big levels get filled. $15 right from the chart. You would figure just with strong support should create strong resistance if it were to work its way back up towards 15. You could even see here, though, it ended up holding pretty nicely off these highs, double top, essentially, off what appears to be 1465 or so. I really didn't see any massive iceberg order on the ask. I didn't really see any smart money print there, but I'll tell you, holding pretty strong. That's like 1465. But what I want to jump to, even aside from those, look at the big volume. See these big spikes? So, you would figure 50-cent levels and whole numbers. So like $14, 13.50, 13 on the way down here. It bounced off low of the day, 13.01. But two price levels in particular. Number one, it is a whole number, but 14, we ended up seeing just before. It was like a 250,000 share print filled on the tape. Myself and Tony, all of a sudden, we were looking at Bookmap together, and we see this big dot on Bookmap, which represents a smart money transaction. So it was a 250,000 share fill directly at 14. That's what this line will represent. And then lastly, the other one, we ended up seeing even more volume filled. It was not at 1350, but in particular, if it gets its way back down here, I would assume 1331 exactly to be a smart money level to watch going into this afternoon. So, for what it's worth, it held the double top at 1464. I personally just got out of a short on this trade earlier. I was playing this from the market open on the way down, but ended up re-breaking below 1450 here. I thankfully avoided a lot of this consolidation. One of those trades where I kind of just jumped back over to it and it was beginning to pull back. So thankfully I avoided this like shake around the highs here in 1450. I got in right here once it broke below 1450, dropped down. I covered, it was right around, well, here, 1418 I covered exactly. It might break down lower, guys, I would assume for it too at some point, but whether it's right now or later on, we'll figure out. At least for the meantime here, Dave and Buster's will easily just put on our list heading into the afternoon. Now, the other one I wanted to jump to, it's really number one on the gainers list, but I have the news right up in front of me here, folks, so just allow me to copy and paste for you guys. CRDF. So Cardiff Oncology. This is pretty interesting. It's the second oncology company that we're aware of that we trade here. So CRDF, the other one that I know of, I think it's CLVS, Clovis. Anyway, we ended up seeing CRDF come out with news. They're trading higher after the company highlighted its presentation of its data at the ESMO, which I guess is like and Expo, ESMO in capital letters. They, I guess, some convention confirming its efficacy of the, I guess, drug or prescription and durability in response to, I guess, metastatic colorectal cancer. Okay. Well, that's the news headline. I'm going to copy and paste for all of us on social media. And with that, we ended up seeing CRDF make a really strong pop. That news headline came out pretty much right there at 12 o'clock. We ended up seeing it make the big squeeze up well beforehand, but shortly after, 12:30, we ended up seeing more volume come in as it broke higher over 8, ran up nicely off the lows. It's one of those trades where it wasn't perfect off each and every level, pretty shaky minute by minute, but ultimately off the lows, it held a very steady trend. So, with that, we ended up seeing it begin to squeeze up and up higher, but faster as time went on. So, as you begin to see a stock stray away from a simple trend it was following, it's easy to say, but that's where I would expect to see this begin to either slow down, consolidate, or make a really nasty drop back down. Oftentimes, we'll get a mixture of both. But whereas you see this begin to kind of accelerate higher and higher off these lows, eventually it's going to catch back down to it. So I'm going to put the line up now at this point so you guys can see. But right here. Now, of course, the stock will begin to trade off its trend. Not every stock, trades perfectly in like a straight trend line, whether it be a moving average, a VWAP you could use to kind of facilitate a trade. But we ended up seeing this begin to run up higher and higher faster. So with that, I would just expect for this to begin to, slow down in its trend and then, or begin to shake back down pretty quick. So for the meantime here, CRDF, it's pulling back down. I don't think it's going to dump all the way back down. I sure hope not. Given the activity and the volume it's trading, it's hard to not put this back on our list. It's hard to borrow for those of us with TradeStation. Double check to see if you can get the shares at least. And I mean, hey, if you don't have TradeStation, hopefully you can get the shares to short this yourself. But yeah, for the meantime, CRDF, I don't mind putting this back on our list. Very volatile stock. I feel like the move up is pretty much, done. So if anything, the short might be a better play here. All right. Let's see. We ended up doing well as far as the market early on. It's pulling back a bit here now, but recovered at least across the morning. So we had some stocks running up pretty nicely. The NEO trade, the WKHS. We ended up seeing some vaccine stocks like the INO, the VXRT continue to squeeze. So let's just recap those, and then from there we'll go from top to bottom as tradition. But yeah, NEO at the market open exploded right out of the gate from 1810 all the way up towards just about 1870. From there, consolidated, then shot back up higher, up towards the eventual high, like 1922. I was more interested in this trade as a short. This trade moved up without me. So right around 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30, I'm thinking it's going to drop and pull back. I ended up shorting this under 19. It was pretty much right off that dip. I ended up taking a very tiny loss. I could have had some profit, but I thought it was going to keep going. So be it. Ended up popping back up. I ended up getting out at 3-cent loss. So be it. Squeezed up, pulled back. Just an ugly chart. NEO is a very active stock, very volatile stock of late. Just unfortunately, whereas I wanted it to drop off a lot more from where I was looking to short, didn't really get it. I got it later on, but I wasn't in the trade at that point. Now, Workhorse has been a lot more volatile of a stock than NEO. Both are EV stocks. NEO, I think, is producing a car. WKHS in the EV business as well. We ended up seeing them continue to break higher yesterday, and today moved right back up towards those all-time highs. I think it was like almost a picture-perfect double top. Let's see. So high of the day yesterday. Looks like it broke from this Fausto flag almost here, right off of I guess 26, ended up hitting a high of the day of 28.20. High of the day today, 28.23. It actually just broke that high a moment ago, moved right back up, held, and snapped right back down here. So, going into the afternoon, just as such an active stock of late, I mean, it's been trading a little tighter range across the last, hour or so, but moving up. And just very active. So I don't mind putting this just back on our list here, the Workhorse trade, WKHS. I think we pretty much said the same thing yesterday. It ended up making that big push up, pulled back down, and just given the tradability, I should say, we ended up just putting this on our list for that reason. All right, and then what else did we have? So we had NEO, we had Play. Oh yeah, the vaccine stocks. Let's get to VXRT. Oh my goodness. So I ended up making a blunder this morning. as in a mistake. This morning myself, I ended up focusing on a group of like 4 or 5 stocks. My first 3 that I was interested in were Dave & Buster's, Sorrento, SRNE, which maybe I'll get to in a moment, vaccine stock, and VXRT. What I ended up doing was I ended up flipping over to NIO, the one I just covered, right before the market opened up instead of this VXRT. I accidentally left it on my screen as the market opened up at 9:30. With all of the crap I had up on my screen locked up. I was frozen for the first 2 minutes. That's why I missed NIO. And with this, I ended up missing the first pop on VXRT. I screwed up royally. So this ended up making a really big pop shortly after the open without me. A lot of us, inside our trading room ended up jumping in this beautiful trend, but ended up breaking off its levels very nicely at the same time. So this was a really nice treat to see this continue to squeeze up from yesterday's run from 7:15 pre-market dip all the way up towards just about 9:50, 9:43, the high. For as much as this moved up the last 2 days, you got to think it's going to come back down. But well, that's where the wheels fell off. This thing ended up dumping all the way back down towards just about its opening bell print, roughly around 750-ish, 740-ish. But, it squeezed back up, kind of trading in this tight range. Volume died off. So for the meantime, VXRT, we're going to scratch from our list. INO ended up pushing up nicely, at least after the open. From there, the wheels fell off. This dumped all the way back down pretty sharply towards 1430, low of the day. Nice bounce. It would have made for a nice bounce point, from 1430, 1450-ish, squeezing back up right now. So, again, similar to Workhorse WKHS, it is, tradable based off its range. This one, I don't think we can get the shares to short. So if this were to keep dropping, we wouldn't be able to, follow this as much, unfortunately. All right. So I told you guys also last one, really quick, I guess, SRNA. So, this is another vaccine stock. You can see on the daily chart, the right-hand side there, it ended up being one of our big moves from yesterday. So it's one that we're all pretty familiar with. I kind of took the gamble of saying, well, hey, VXRT ran at the open. INO ran at the open. So this SRNA, it pulled back. It was up the most, actually, leading into the market open. It was up like 25%. So at the open, it pulled back, and that's what I expected it to do. But I ended up jumping in from 10, and it took its sweet time. It just never really made that first pop back up, and I ended up getting stopped out. Tiny loss, continued to dump off another like 30, 40 cents down. I ended up jumping back in as it squeezed back up, so I'm happy to say I made some money back on that run, but didn't nearly make that type of move that VXRT did. Jerry said on his swing trade from early, he did really good on that trade, right? Yeah, Jerry, you were in and out a few times, if I'm not mistaken. For what it's worth, if you're able to short it, that would be the better play at this point in the afternoon. It's up 11%, but, it's at the lows, if it were shortable at least. So for right now, at least, what we'll do is go from top to bottom, see if there's anything else alongside the CRDF, the workhorse, the play on the losers list. I don't know why I started with this. Cheapy, 19 cents. MLHR, 22 million shares traded. Nice run up. Fausto had put this on the morning watch list. I was unfamiliar with the symbol. So, me personally, I'm looking at NIO. I'm looking at Sorrento, which was on our list. Ford was also on our list. Maybe I'll get to that. That was making a sneak run up in pre-market. But anyway, getting back to MLHR, ran up after the open, still holding strong, but, more so than anything, for me at least, it is holding strong, but if it's not breaking higher, I could see this dumping off pretty nicely. It is shortable. So in that sense, it tradable. I'll come back to it. It's up a lot, so of course that piques my interest. SOL, new high the day earlier, pulled back. Volume kind of stinks. EBON. This stock was once a pump and dump, I think. Oh, I guess maybe from back in July and moved up here, but I'm more so referring to July. Ran in pre-market this morning, opened up at 6, popped up to 8, closed at 475. Same thing happened 2 days later. And same thing happened today. Got halted like 2-3 times on the way up, got halted once on the way down, and that was it. All right, Capper, CAPR, a known pump and dump stock as well. Actually, we had some decent success on this going back into July. Normally, the stock is, pump and dumpish, but yeah, new high of the day right now, looking pretty strong. up towards 6, actually. It popped from 6, actually, a moment ago, pulled back, and for right now, there's like a 4,200 share order on the ask. So for right now, Capper, I'll put it on. I don't know what the news is on this. I'm not going to look right now. I want to just kind of zip right through. Next, NXT or NEXT, squeezing up and up and up over the last few days. Yeah, I like the chart. I mean, I like the pattern. It's near the high. It's kind of spotty. Liquid order book, decent spread for right now, so tradable in that sense. You know, I'll come back to that stock perhaps if we're really like itching for a stock to trade maybe. VVPR, a lot of volume got traded on this going into this afternoon shortly prior to 2 p.m. We're pretty familiar with this stock altogether, so I don't mind putting this on our list. Ended up running up for us going back into the end of August, early September, popped up, then dumped back down. So, hey, for as much as it ran up, it pulled back. For as much as it pulled back, when's it going to push back up? I'm sure there's news out on this one. I don't mind doing it for this. Let's see, VBIV, any news on Benzinga Pro? Oh yeah, so here's the thing. I guess that that ESMO abbreviation that I kind of referenced before, that like convention or whatnot, I'm not familiar with it, but VBIV ended up having a presentation there too. They announced the biomarker data for VBI 1901 phase, blah blah blah, in recurring GBM presented. Yeah, so I guess they had some presentation. Vaccine company, VBIV. So yeah, I'll put this one on too. Looking pretty interesting. What do we have here? PHIO, familiar stock, pump and dumpish. A nice move up early. Kind of pulled back, though, dying off. Mark, M-A-R-K. Not Mark R on the chat board, perhaps, but M-A-R-K, the stock. Remark Holdings. Squeezed up going into the afternoon from seemingly $1 up to $1.22. It's a big move. I just feel like it's not going to make that extra pop. It's teased us in the past. BTU, it's near the highs, had a big pullback just before, tight spread, so, tradable in that sense. I feel like there's a lot of these on the gainers list, guys, so, I'm not trying to put every single one that, kind of resembles that on our list. RKDA, familiar name, pump and dump stock. There's Sorrento. Oh, there's the king of the pump and dump, Kodak. Oh, no. It's at the highs of the day. All right, so really quick, guys, really quick for all of us inside the trading room. I'm just going to jump ahead of this. I don't think that we could trade Kodak. There's a restriction on TradeStation. They locked all their clients from trading it. I'm putting Kodak on the list for anyone that can trade it. If you cannot trade it, don't get frustrated about it, guys. Don't pull your hair out and complain about it. There's going to be a bunch of other stocks on our list heading into this afternoon between VBIV, Capper, Workhorse, CR. We got the whole losers list we have to jump through. So if you could trade it, we're going to put it on our list. If you can't trade it, it's not even worth your time to get frustrated about. That's it. Moving up nicely. It's probably going to dump back down to 5 going into the after hours if it continues to move up. Blink. I saw this get called out earlier. BLNK, another EV-related stock. They make the charging ports or chargers for the electric vehicles. But yeah, nice run back up. I mean, hey, very similar. For as much as this ended up running up for us, dive back down. This has been kind of off our radar the last week and a half. So, I'd love to see this back up. Definitely going to put this back on my side list at least for tomorrow morning. Going into the afternoon, I'm going to keep this off the main list, but it is kind of coiling up. If it ends up making that extra push up towards the highs, I'm sure I'll be one of the first to call it out for you guys here in the chat board. TNXP, pass. Vuzi near the highs. I saw Jerry call that out, if I'm not mistaken, earlier. It's his bread and butter stock. I like the fact that it's near the highs. Again, just a lot of these stocks kind of making that same type of little move. Want something with a little volatility behind it, steady trend, liquidity behind it. This has liquidity behind it. Just it's almost like lifeless, this AYTU trade. All right, guys, if there's anything that looks good that's up, that's perhaps popping maybe as I go through this meeting, let me know. Hop over to the losers list. MCS, interesting, down 32+%. It is shortable. It has a tight spread. And for what it's worth, it looked like it was kind of stalling, but it just held under 950, pulling back down now. So, yeah, I don't mind putting this on our list right away, MCS. And I'm going to copy and paste the news in just a moment. I'm pretty interested. I haven't looked just yet. Not much volume filled at 9. Look at that on the TradeStation Matrix histogram. Not much volume filled at $9. So, you would imagine that to be a major support. And generally, it held from that price. But just saying, not a whole lot of volume filled at that price that led to that bounce. So hopefully there's a big iceberg order on the bid later on that we could identify as, big support there. But for what it's worth, I'll put this on here at the end, MCS. All right, check back in on Dave & Buster's play. Obviously, it's on the top of our list here, but I wanted to come back to it, right? Getting close to that 14 level. It's kind of like squeaking down inch by inch towards it. Maybe you'll kind of test it and then shoot right back up. Market's kind of pulling back down a bit here too. I&O back to Novio, right? We kind of looked at this just before. I didn't realize it was number 8 on the losers list today. I knew it was down big, but down 18%, number 8, pretty up there. It's had a hell of a move down and nice squeeze back up. That's what I was saying. So, if it was kind of a little bit right after this bounce here, I'd be more inclined for us to just try and watch it and trade it to see it make this continued move up. I just feel like for as much as this ran up over the last few days, this day was expected on the way down. But how much more can it go? Is it just going to flatten out and stall out and that's it? Personally, I think that's what's going to happen. So, for right now, I'm going to keep this off our list. I love I&O just as a trade, long or short, if you're able to short it at least. But, I'll watch it tomorrow. CKPT. I'm pretty familiar with this stock over the last few days, last week. Pretty slow moving down, I guess. But, yeah, same thing. Ooh, a little expensive, but EMPH down 8%. This one took a hit today. Familiar stock, at least for a few of us inside our trading room, down big. Looks kind of flat. I mean, pretty expensive, but yeah, too flat. All right. And then with that First Solar, I guess the same thing. FSLR had a big drop, big gap down in pre-market. That'll be a fun trade at one point, or at some point, I should say. All right, guys, I'll tell you, there's not much else that I see that looks, really good, that looks worthwhile. If anything, maybe we'll rescan a bit more seriously around 315, 330. If there's anything that you guys see, just one more time, let me know, though. Ken said on MYO, and I jumped to that quick. He said he jinxed it, but I'll take a look from earlier. It was a good call at the time. Right back up at the highs for as much as it ran up yesterday, dived right back down and it continued to drop off this morning. But hey, it's at the highs today. It's only up 3%. So wouldn't have found it on the gainer side here. You know what? I like it. So MYO for right now, we'll kind of put on there, maybe near the middle or the bottom, but good call for now. SPWR Solar stock also in a slump. Yeah, so I will say this could be a good setup to trade because more or less this can move with EMPH. We found that out over the past year. Maybe it was off like an earnings report or something, but we ended up seeing SPWR move really well with EMPH off of like a sharper move. So with EMPH down as much as it is, it's not a surprise for me to see this. It is a good setup though, right off 10, down 6+%, Wayne. All right, well, you know what? Whether you sold me or I sold myself, we're going to put this on our list, the SPWR trade here. Nice setup. I mean, it's right down to major support off of 10. All right, guys, I got a bagel on YouTube right now, which means nothing, no comments, no call outs, which I'll take. I mean, we don't want to force a lot of stocks on our list. And we don't have too short of a list to begin. It's pretty good. We have 3, 6, 9. Right down the middle, I'd say. All right, guys. So aside from that, listen, once again, if you can't trade Kodak, don't let it be a distraction. Don't complain about it. Just try and find another stock from our list to trade because, hey, if we keep complaining about it, we're going to miss the moves that we should be taking. That's the point, right? We got to be quick to the punch. So for right now, guys, let's try and start and stick with this list. And then again, around 3:15 Eastern time, we'll jump back, we'll rescan the market. Unless, hey, if there's anything else, if there's something that makes a huge pop off of news, breaking a new high of the day, at that point, if it's that good looking, we'll call it out in between. But, we'll start and stick with this list, guys, all right? From Chuck at the end here at the buzzer, ABEV, high of the day. I mean, good pattern, level 1. All right, guys. So for right now, we got a good list here. I'm going to post and tweet this out to you guys right now. And aside from that, for all of us on social media, if you would like to learn more about Cyber Trading University, as always, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cybertradingu. And as always, feel more than free to join us. Otherwise, I'll be taking care of us going into the market close, guys. So give me a quick break. I'll jump right back on the mic in about 5 or 10 minutes. Take care.